Hello everyone, it's Sarah Shipton here from Scrapbooking with Sarah. I'm coming live to you on Tuesday, 24th of September, and I am going to be teaching you some techniques today, such as stamping and also sponging with the wood grain die cuts. I'm just going to give it a minute just to make sure we are live and we are rocking and rolling. Excellent. I can see someone has come on live. Don't be afraid to pop. Oh, it's Sonia. Hi, Sonia. I hope you are enjoying your lunch break today in the sunshine. I'm so excited to share with you girls today. Thank you for joining me again for another weekly challenge. Hi, Pauline. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope you are enjoying your scrapbooking retreat and you found some more projects to work on. Okay, so this week's pattern, girls, is from the Make It From Your Heart Volume 3 book, and we are working with pattern number 22, which is on pages 48 of your how-to guide. So, as you know, I've moved a little bit out of order again for this week, purely just because the photos I wanted to share with you fitted this particular design in terms of the coloured paper and the techniques as well. So let's talk about my photos and the story, most importantly, because that is why we scrapbook, to document our photos and to share our stories. These photos were taken in the Montmartre district in Paris on our holiday earlier this year. And this little cafe called Carrette is super famous, very well known for their crepes. And there is, what's that big church called? The one where they had the fire in Paris. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I've forgotten the name of the church. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot the name of the church. Anyway, the massive church, the one where they had the fire. The original Carrette store is actually just near that church, and we'd been on a hop-on, hop-off bus. We ran out of time to get to that particular Carrette. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. We ran out of time to get to that particular Carrette, and I just happened to stumble across this one after we had visited the Sacré-Cœur. So I was very excited. Here I am eating my hazelnut Nutella and banana crepe in hand. There was some Parisian buskers nearby. We were strolling the cobbled streets and it was very Paris, very chic. So I was super excited to scrapbook these photos. Don't you just love how the colour of the photos coordinates with our paper so beautifully? So I have used the mix-in paper pack for this scrapbooking challenge this week. The mix-in paper packs you find in your little September-October catalogue. So every 2 months we release a mix-in paper pack, and the idea is that the mix-in paper pack will mix in with both of the paper packs that are in this catalogue. So for the month of September, I've been teaching with The Good Life. And then on the 1st of October, we are going to move into our Christmas collection, Home for Christmas. So this mix-in paper pack coordinates with both of these paper collections, which is great because if you've got any leftover scrapbooking papers from your Good Life scrapbooking kit, or you've got any leftover papers from your Home for Christmas scrapbooking kit, excuse me, you can use your mix-in paper packs to bulk up those leftover papers. Notre Dame, yes, Sonia, thank you so much. I can't believe I forgot that. Oh my gosh, that's so bad. So bad. So the mix-in paper packs will help you bulk up your other papers. Now, if you prefer to buy your paper collections separately, so the paper packs on their own, or perhaps the paper pack with the coordinating stickers, again, you can bulk up those paper packs with this mix-in paper. You can see this gorgeous square pattern that they've used here. The mix-in paper pack, you get 6 sheets, 1 each, and then each of them has a double-sided design. And then there is coordinating cardstock to go with this mix-in paper pack as well. So because you only get 1 sheet of each, if you want to do, this is where I got stuck, right? Because the pattern that we were up to in the Make It From Your Heart book required me to have 2 pieces of paper the same, and I didn't have 2 mix-in paper packs. So I've now resigned myself to the fact that I'm going to need to make sure that I order 2 of the mix-in paper packs every catalogue cycle. So then I've got enough to be able to create a double page spread with. But in this instance here, I've used the mix-in paper pack through here. This is the mix-in paper pack here, the brown. The cardstock itself is French vanilla, and I have stamped along the top of the scrapbooking layout and also the bottom of the scrapbooking layout with the design element stamp set. So I'm going to demonstrate that to you today. The blue through here, the half strip, was actually a scrap left over from the Good Life Scrapbooking Workshop kit. The awesome thing about our scrapbooking workshop kits, aside from the fact that they have a guide with everything that you need to create your layouts, you also get exclusive pattern paper in the scrapbooking workshop kit, and you get exclusive die cut sheets as well. And sometimes the embellishments that are in here are different to the embellishments that you can buy separately as well for that coordinating paper collection. So I had some of this exclusive pattern paper left over, and that's where I've used the blue through the top here. And this cardstock is scarlet. Now, you can also see a zip strip through here. I want to give you a little tip. When you buy your mix-in paper packs, because you're only getting 1 sheet of each, there's only a zip strip on one side. On the other side, it has all of the product information from that paper pack. So as you can see here, it looks like there's 2 zip strips through the middle here, but there was actually only 1. And when I have this situation where you're only going to see a little bit of the zip strip underneath the photographs, what I do is I actually cut it. So this probably would only have been about 3/4 of an inch. I only cut the amount that I need that's going to peek through my in-between space of my photos. So this was only 1 strip of zip strip, and I've just cut it down, and you're only seeing it in that section there. So that's a little tip there for you girls with your zip strips. So the layout that we've done, I have, as I mentioned, I've stamped. I've also stamped here where the journal box is, and this is using, again, this month's stamp of the month. So you can purchase the stamp of the month outright for $35.50. With an $80 order, you can buy it for $9, or if you're a VIP and you place an $80 order, then you get the stamp of the month for free. So I really wanted to show you girls how to use the stamp of the month. We've used this stamp and the film camera roll last week, and this week I'm using this postage stamp here. It's got some French text on it, which is why I wanted to use it on my scrapbooking layout. And in fact, I think I demonstrated it last week. It's upside down. You can see that there's some French text there, and this is where I've made the journal box. I practiced first with the scarlet just to see how that turned out, and I decided that I liked, oh, that does look pretty cool now. I put that there actually. But anyway, I've gone with the black. And you can see that I've put some embellishments here. These are the dots from the Cozy Up range. So this was actually in our catalogue from the last 2 months in July and August, but I had some of the dots left over. And as you can see, there is a scarlet on here, and they work with the coordinating collection this month and also next month as well. So the Cozy Up dots are still available to order. One of the things that I do, a little tip for you, when I'm figuring out how to coordinate my colours for my paper collection, you can see here that you've got all of the cardstock colours that coordinate. So scarlet and candy apple. So there are some of those here in this Cozy Up section. And then for the paper collection that we're in this month with the Good Life, I've got some toffee dots in here as well. So don't discount, even though that's from the Cozy Up range, don't discount embellishments being cross-used across different paper collections. That does come in really, really handy. And then the technique that I'm going to be sharing with you today is sponging these wood grain shapes. So I've been using some of the wood grain shapes already in our weekly challenges. These are the wood grain die cut shapes from the Core Essentials catalogue, and the wood grain die cut titles also from the Essentials catalogue. I love using the wood grain because they're flat, so you don't get the lumpy bumpy in your album. I do like that plain wood grain look, but I wanted to show you today how you could turn those embellishments into the colour that you want to then coordinate with the paper collection that you are using. I did pop the wood grain ones here, and they did get a little bit lost because I've got this stamped background here, and also the toffee colour paper. So let's get into that, and I'm just going to demonstrate the stamps first of all. I've got my Versamat handy. I've got some scrap French vanilla cardstock there. And in fact, what I might do is turn that over and we can stamp along the base here like that. And I'm just going to get some scratch paper to put behind that because we're going to be overlapping that border there, okay? So what I'm doing here with my French vanilla cardstock is getting that ready. We're using the Design Element stamp set. The thing I love about this stamp set is that you can create your own background scrapbooking paper, as you can see here. My tip to you if you are going to do this is to make sure you do your stamping first on the background paper before you put your cardstock over. And I knew that my stamp set was going to be big enough to come in under that space and also along the bottom here. So where this background stamp set technique comes in really handy is if you've got just plain cardstock as your base page and you think it looks a little bit boring, this is where you would get a stamp instead of using your pattern paper. And cardstock is also cheaper. It's more cost effective. And sometimes I don't like using pattern paper as my background because then you cover the whole pattern paper with other papers and then you don't get to see the beautiful paper. So this is the pattern paper that I'm referencing from the mix-in paper pack. These are some zip strips that I've cut off already, leftover paper from last week's challenge. And then you can see here you've got the scarlet on one side and the other, this beautiful linen cement look, a pine ruled line, the plaid pattern here with another sort of cement look, and then the black there as well, ready for the Christmas collection. So you are going to see me use the mix-in paper packs for weekly challenges through October as well because it coordinates with our October featured paper collection. So I've gone ahead and I've popped my stamp there on a 3x3 inch block. So you might remember from our previous classes where I've talked about the stamping in Technique Tuesday, when you're getting a stamp set, you want to have a look down the bottom here to make sure that you've got the recommended block sizes for your stamp. So you can see that this stamp fits perfectly on my 3x3 inch block. I have got my toffee ink pad here ready to rock and roll, and I've already seasoned this stamp set. So all I need to do is, I'll move that up a little bit so you can see that better. I'm just inking that up. So I'm just tapping that into the ink that's been seasoned pretty well, so I won't need to twist it as much. Now, the thing with this stamp is that you are going to need to go over the outside of your paper a little bit when you're using this particular stamp, okay? Because you can see it kind of comes in here. Now, this is like a cracked pavement or cracked cement, footpath, walkway, whatever you want to call it, look of a stamp. What I've done here is I just turned my stamp around and I overlapped it just slightly to make it look like it was feeding in there. And you can see here, even though it looks a little bit busier through here, because it's one of those stamp sets that is, you know, cracked or gives that cracked texture look, it doesn't matter so much that you don't have it aligned perfect. Now you can see here what I'm doing here. I've ended up with this section where I'm going to fill that in, and I'm just going to align my stamp set. So I've just turned my stamp set around and I've just aligned that so it feeds into each other, okay? So you want to make sure that you've got some scrap paper down behind that, And then I'm going to stamp that about there. And that should take me all the way over. Perfect. So just envision that that's a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock, and you're going to do that all the way along the top of your border there. And then you can get some pattern paper and you can put that over the top. So I think it was about 3/4 or an inch and a bit down. So you can see there that that looks super, super cool. So you end up then with your own background pattern paper. And then in terms of, so I'm just going to pop that lid back on there like so. And before I finish up, I've got my stamp chamois here that's already been wet. And I'm just going to give that a wipe over my stamp. And you will see there we won't have any excess ink left on that. I'm going to pop that back in my stamp chamois case. I just have that sitting to the side when I'm doing my stamping. I'm going to take that off and I'm going to pop it back onto my carrier sheet. So when I've finished with my stamp, I clean it pretty much straight away, pop it back on the carrier sheet, put the foam square over, and then it goes back into its home, all right? So you want to make sure that you are looking after your stamps. In regards to the journal box, I cut my journal box down at 3 by 4 inches. And I stamped along the top. I have gone over the top of the journal box a little bit there. I've stamped along the top and the bottom. And I've just moved my stamp along. So you can see here, you can see the little postage stamp here. But this one, you can't see the postage stamp. So, you know, you can align it to whichever way you want it to go. And then I've just ruled my lines at 1/4 of an inch there using my black Le Pen. And my T-square ruler, I've ruled my lines there at 1/4 of an inch. So again, with your journaling boxes, by just putting that stamp along the top and along the bottom there, it just jazzes it up a little bit and makes it look a little bit more interesting. So how about I demonstrate over the back of this journal box here. So I've got my scarlet ink pad here. I've got a long, thin block there. I've got my stamp of the month for September. I'm just going to take that off its carrier sheet. A good tip with your long stamps like this is to pop them face down and then pick them up using the block face down as well, and that helps you get it on a little bit straighter. With my long stamps, I like to feed it along, like this, just inking that up. And then, have I got that up the right way? Yep, I'm going to stamp that just there like that. So again, if you're going to go off the edges, you want your scratch paper underneath it. So I've got one with my stamp in the middle, and this one, I want to have the postage stamp about here so we can see that there in the corner. Perfect. So we'll pop the lid back on my scarlet ink, wipe that off with the stamp chamois. I love my stamp chamois. I didn't think that I would be able to convert after using the spritz cleaner and the block, but it's so good. Peeling that off, popping that back on my carrier sheet. So cleaning as you are going, girls. All right, and that's my journal box. So that is pretty cool. And now I want to show you the sponging with the wood grain die cut. So what I've done here, I've actually got a flip flap on this layout. So I've left it in here to show you the flip flap. A little tip when I put my flip flaps on is I actually stick my photos back to back, so then they don't move around in the flip flap. My other tip is to put your best photo, or the one that you want to feature, so it is facing upwards. So you can see here that this is sealed here at that flap section there. And what you're doing is you are putting the adhesive strip behind the flap. So you fold the adhesive strip over, put it behind the flap. So this is stuck over the top of the other photo. So I had this photo here of Darren and I out the front of this kind of art wall. I already had a little 3x3 one here as well, but I wanted to get this one on because this one we're having a little smooch and this one we're not. So that one's on the bottom. I've got the front door of the Corette Cafe there, looking in with the Paris mat here. And I've got me on the front here eating my banana Nutella crepe. So always your best photo on your flip-flap at the front here. In this section here, this was meant to be a 4x6 inch landscape, but I didn't have another landscape photo. So all I've done here is cut 2 photos down at 3x4 and then sat them next to each other as well. So when you go to look at one of the patterns in the how-to book, girls, don't be afraid to move your pattern around or change things up. You can see here that this was meant to have a picture my life card and a photo mat underneath it with then a smaller photo inside, a 3x4 inch photo inside. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted a 4x6 inch photo there. And then I've just put the flip flap over the top. So it's okay to do that. So I have sponged these little wood grain hearts. So these came from the Die Cut Shapes wood grain pack. And then I have sponged them. So last week I showed you how to do the colouring with the pencils. And I said to you to leave your wood grain shapes inside the carrier sheet because they were easier to colour. You can see here where I've coloured over the outside. But with the sponging, you're going to want to punch them out and you just want to put them over the top of some of your scratch paper. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to ink. In my challenge, I inked them up with the Scarlet ink to coordinate with the papers. I'm going to slide this back into my memory protector there. And I've sponged this little heart here and then also a couple on here just on my journal box. But today I'm going to be using the Mocha ink because, oh, you'll have to stay tuned for that, girls. This might be for another challenge. So you can see here, I've taken my wood grain shapes out of the carrier sheet and I've got them on some scrap paper. And I'm going to do the sponging with my ink pad and one of our round sponges. You can see here the sponge is complete. These are a great little add-on for $4.50 if you need to go over the $80 to get your stamp of the month. And what I do is I cut my round sponge into eighths and I can use them on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sides to do these kind of techniques. I wouldn't bother with my blending brushes with these. I've talked to you girls, I've taught about blending brushes before. I wouldn't bother with the blending brushes for this kind of technique, just using the sponge is okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to ink that up. You can see where I've done my sponging from last week. And I'm just going to dab that sponge over the top of my wood grain shape, okay? So you can see here that the Mocha is turning that Mocha ink. And it's a little bit tricky to get it to stay where you want. I guess if it was bigger, or you could get your tweezers, I could hold one end in place and sponge that up. And then hold the other end in place and hold that up. You do need to be careful. I don't know if you noticed them, but I just almost bent that backwards. Because the ink, it's a water-based dye ink, but it's obviously wet, right? And so if you are going too crazy with the ink, you might run the risk of bending. Oh my gosh, I've just thought of something. Do you know what would be really cool? I could have made that like ombre. So I could have had like light and dark. Oh my gosh. So there we go, girls. That's a little tip for you. You can make your shapes wood grain. An ombre effect. How cool is that? But I'm going to turn them mocha or mocha, as my American friends say. Mocha. I'm going to turn it brown with the mocha ink because you are going to see this on next week's scrapbooking challenge. I had to demonstrate something to you. I'm not going to be teaching the sponging next week because I'm doing that now. You'll have to stay tuned to see what I'm going to show you next week. I'm trying to remember what was the other technique I used. It will be a surprise. So that's it. And then I just shove that back in my little baggie. Now, obviously, once I have used these little wedges of my round sponges to death, I just chuck them in the bin and I get another sponge. It's no big deal. So they are our 2 techniques for you this week, girls. And I finished off, I'm just going to move these to the side so I don't lose them. I have finished off my scrapbook layout by putting a title down the bottom, the best day, and I have taken that from my wood grain title die cuts. There's lots of other titles here for $7.50, so great value, and I've just stuck that down. Some of the titles are big enough that you can just use your normal Tombow adhesive. Some of them are thinner. You'll see me show you that next week. Some of them are thinner, like these little leaves here that I just sponged. You need the quickie glue pen, okay? So I'm going to be demonstrating that to you guys next week. And that's it. My layout is finished. So thanks so much for watching, girls. Hope, no worries, the replay will go up. Thanks for tuning in. Hi, Beck. You just caught us at the end, but that's okay. I am going to pop this video up in our Facebook group. It will be pinned to the featured posts at the top of our Facebook group, and you'll be able to go back and watch this at any time that's convenient for you. Have a great day, girls. Enjoy the sunshine, and I look forward to seeing what you create this week. Thanks for watching.